Welcome, 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 everybody, to another Saturday, not a Sunday, a Saturday of When Black Women Gather. And I'm so excited that we're here today with two wonderful women who are going to talk to us about some special work that they're doing around conversations. And we have conversations here at When Black Women Gather. And I always forget to say who I am. I just assume everybody knows, but I'm Helen Higginbotham. I am the founder of When Black Women Gather. And When Black Women Gather is a space that I've created for Black women, especially to come together to have conversations about us, where we just kind of understand what we're talking about. And every now and then, we also gather with other groups. And this is one of those times when we're gathering with white women to have a serious conversation about our relationships and how we communicate or do we communicate with each other? Do we have different relationships amongst ourselves? One of my very good friends is on here, Mary Jane, and so Mary Jane and I have a conversation. Do we have a relationship that I share with, Beverly, who's also a good friend? Or is it different because one is Black and one is white? Do we even think about that? So I had the honor of seeing Kerry and Sandell and Marci Duncan. They had put together a play which they're going to share with us. And that's kind of like the premise of it. So on that, I just want to, before I give you a brief introduction, I just wanted to say welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. And I want to tell you all that just ask for what you want, because I didn't know these ladies from Adam. And when they were finished with their production, I literally walked up to the stage and said, "Hey," and they were quite receptive. And here we are. So just ask for what you want. You never know. I did not know them beforehand, and I've had great conversations with them since then. And we're going to talk a little bit towards the end. My goal is that when we will be able to bring their play to, they've already done it in Florida. So since I'm a Jersey girl, I'm going to try and bring their play to Jersey, and hopefully everybody on this call will support it. Also, on that note, if you're in another state or city, they're open. So don't hold back on asking for what you want. So on that note, let me do a quick intro of the two ladies, and then we will allow them to tell us about their work. I'm going to go off screen, come back on when they're finished. And I'm assuming, what do you ladies want? You want people to hold off on their questions, or you want an interactive conversation?
Well, I think we'll do a little spill first. We'll tell the people who we are and what our play does, and a little bit of background information about how we conceive the play, and then we will open it up for people to ask us questions. How's that?
Okay, very good. So let me say a little bit about it. I told you how I met them. They did their play here in Florida in June, and me and about 6 or 7 other women went to see the play, and I was hopeful that we would have an engaging conversation afterwards about race, because it's really about race, but their production person didn't want to touch the subject. So we're going to touch the subject here today. And then and so let me just start. So Kerry Sandell holds a bachelor's degree in theater performance and a master's degree in strategic communication from the University of West Florida. She is passionate about connecting people through storytelling, which was the genesis for developing the play Dissonance that she and Marci are going to talk to us about today. A few of her past theatrical credits include My Lynn in Steel Magnolia, Ruth, and Collected Stories, which she also produced. The title role in Medea? What's Medea? You got to tell me what that is, because the only Medea we know is Tyler Perry's, and I don't think I've seen you in. Am I saying
Not
it
that
wrong?
one. Not that one.
It's a Greek tragedy.
And let's see. She is currently writing a play about addiction and recovery. This is her first play collaboration, with more on the way. And when she is not creating theater, she is an academic advisor. I-495 North Ramp to Baltimore. Okay, so everybody needs a mute. Somebody needs to mute. Thank you. When she is not creating theater, Kerry Ann is an academic advisor for chemistry and biology programs at the University of West Florida. So you go from biology and chemistry to acting. This is good. You're going to tell us about it. And Marci J. Duncan earned her BA from the wonderful HBCU, FAMU. Yes, I'm biased. I'm a little biased. And her master's in acting at the University of Florida. She studied television and film acting with Yvonne Suhoor. I'm sure I said that wrong. At Orlando's Art Safe Acting Studio. Marci's film work includes Just Another Day, co-starring with Jamie Hector from HBO's The Wire, and Life is Not a Fairy Tale, the Fantasia Barrino story. I love that. You have to tell us all about that. And you worked with Debbie Allen and Fantasia to do that? Oh, yeah, you got to tell us all about that. Marci just completed a network series for NBC, Young Rock, and a one-woman show called Florida Girls at Emerald Coast Theater Company. Marci provides actor coaching with her acting studio, Artists at Play, and is currently on tour with her new original play, Dissonance, that she and Kerry Ann are going to talk to us about. She serves as the Florida Theater Conference president and is also a board member at the Southeastern Theater Conference. So on that note, tells you a little about these ladies. They have an interesting background, and I'm going to step aside and let them do their thing and tell them how they got to doing this play. And thank you, ladies, for joining us this Saturday.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for having us. Kerry, if you don't mind, I'll jump right in and start us off here.
Sure.
When I was a little girl, my mom asked me what I wanted to be. And, you know, I was so small that I didn't have that editor that we have now as we've grown older and we're all aware. And I told her, I said, I want to be a movie star. And she said to me, okay. And that was all the permission that I needed. My mom never told me that I couldn't. She never painted the picture that it was an impossibility. And so that is all I have ever pursued. Now, of course, as I grew older, that vision, that desire changed and morphed once I became aware of all the options that were available to me. And once I realized that I could do this for a living, that is exactly what I set out to do. Now, when you put words in the atmosphere of the things that you want to do, what you want to do with your life, that comes from your heart. That comes from your heart, but you don't have any idea how those things will manifest. And when I tell you the things that I had envisioned for my life in the realm of the arts, which I work in, that's my full-time job, teaching it and doing it, I had no idea that this dream would bring me to this beautiful piece of work that Kerry and I have developed. And I don't say that because, you know, I wrote it, and I'm performing it and touring it with my partner here. I say that because I really mean it. Kerry and I have developed a play that asks the question, can a white woman and a Black woman have an honest conversation about race and their friendship survive? That's what the that's what the play asks. So as you sit in the audience, this question is posed to you as you first encounter these ladies as best friends who have been friends for 20 years. They're opening up a cafe together. They're working on this business. They love each other. They care for one another. They are each other's children's godparents. So they are purposely doing life together. And now they're going into business together. And in the course of the play, you see them setting this cafe up, working on this thing together, laughing and joking and having a good time with their friendship dynamic. But then something happens in the play where they're forced to talk about race. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that they realize is they've never really had a conversation, not honestly, about race. And they also realize that they have been quite efficient at avoiding the conversation, right? Because the opportunity presents itself several times during the course of the play, but these women have become so good at avoiding direct communication about race specifically. And there comes a point in the play where they are no longer able to avoid this conversation. And so they have to. And they have the conversation. They go through the process of talking to each other honestly about race from a white woman's perspective, from a Black woman's perspective. And they have to decide if their friendship can survive it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Can their friendship survive it? And that is what the play is about. It's a 90-minute play, and it's only Kerry and I, and we perform this piece together alongside our director, who has directed this piece and made it what it is. And everywhere we go, people say everybody needs to see this play. Kerry, can you tell us, this body, how this piece came to be?
Sure. So I went to see Marci in a show up here in the Destin, Florida area, Emerald Coast Theater Company, and had intentionally gone to see her, knew Marci from the university, and it was February 2021. So we had just all experienced the social unrest during the summer from the murder of George Floyd and everything that happened leading up to that. And we were also in the midst of COVID lockdown. And so that was kind of the background as far as socially what was going on, culturally what was going on. And I just asked Marci, how are you? And she knew what I meant without being too heavy-handed about it, because she had been on my mind a lot. Marci had been on my mind a lot. Her son was 19 or 20 at the time. My son was 19 or 20 at the time. And I kept thinking about her through everything that was going on, and thinking about the conversations she was having with her son, Jamari, versus the conversations I was having with my son. And I knew they were different. And I wanted to ask her about it, to talk about it, to explore it. And so I just said, I think we should have a conversation about it. And coming from our backgrounds as theater artists, I think we should write a play about it. And it was just one of those things I felt compelled I had to talk to her about. And so that was the genesis, and it kind of went right from there. It's funny, Marci, I pulled up our original Google document. So like I said, this was written right in the aftermath of the George Floyd murder and the social unrest from that. And so everything was locked down. So Marci and I sat down by Zoom and started having these conversations that our characters have in the play. And we opened a Google document and we started asking each other questions. And that ultimately became the skeleton for the play that we created. And so I pulled up, I have it dated, Marci. So hear this. It's July 15th, 2021. And this was the beginning of our document that we use to write conversations back and forth. And it says, unity is being together or at one with someone or something. It is the opposite of being divided. This is a word for togetherness or oneness. For us to successfully explore these issues, we must be candid and honest, particularly with ourselves. I will likely view things from ignorance, naivete, or hopefulness that you will not. I will probably also inflict microaggressions unintentionally. I'm learning, as are you. The goal is to come together in a place of understanding. Supersedes politics. It's humanity, love, understanding, unity. So that was kind of our mission statement. We didn't know it at the time, and that set up our ground rules of, I'm gonna be stupid. I'm gonna say something stupid. You're gonna say something stupid. I'm gonna hurt your feelings. You're gonna hurt my feelings. But because we came together with our very first word being unity, it set the stage. It set the ground rules so that we were mindful of, I'm sorry already. We're doing this for this purpose. If I say something, forgive me. And so being quick to ask for forgiveness or quick to forgive. And so that created this world in which we could safely have these conversations. And there's a lot to be said for doing it by Google Doc too, because we, we could sit back and take a step away from the table and come back to it later. We could sit and pray or think about, I don't know, do I really believe what I think I believe? Or is that just something that has always been part of my life or my culture or my family? And so the opportunity to dwell and think about it, to to wrestle with it in our hearts or minds was a beautiful opportunity, and it helped us so much along the way. It made it safe to talk about difficult, uncomfortable things or intrusive things. I asked very intrusive questions of Marci, and it made it so that we understood it was a safe place.
I think one of the biggest things that I learned throughout this process, because it was difficult for me in particular, because as a Black woman, I had never, ever said these things as candid as I was with Kerry. I had never, ever, ever spoke aloud to another white person, another white woman. Let me be specific, another white woman. So some of these things, some of these issues that we talked about, interracial dating, you know, how we felt about interracial dating, what does it mean to read a room? How do I feel when I have to make sure a space is safe before I enter it? You know, I've never, ever, ever answered these questions to a white woman. Now, I've answered them to my friends, you know, to my Black friends all day long, right? But I had never said these things to a white woman. And for me, I think one of the biggest things that I took away from this process is that I learned first that I had a mistrust of white women. That was the first thing that I learned. The second thing that I learned was I was in this cycle of perpetually trying to prove my worth to this demographic as well, right? Because I was always in relationships with white women where they made it clear that I was I was below them, I was beneath them, that they knew more than me, that they had to help me with things, right? And none of these things were true, which kind of added to the tension that I felt in relationships with white women. So going through this process, right? Kerry and I started this Google Doc, as she mentioned, and we were answering these questions. And I was going back to my homegirls and I was like, hey, how y'all feel about this? Like, what is really the issue? Like, let's talk about this interracial dating thing. And then I would go back to Kerry and I'm like, okay, here it is. And Kerry would ask me questions like, well, what does that mean? Like, why? You know? And so we would have to discuss and I would answer and I was challenged and Kerry was challenged. And we thought we got it all on the page. We thought we were as honest as we possibly could be. But ladies, when we took the play to the next step, which was taking it from writing the play and having it finished, completed, script, to actually getting it on its feet and working through the play so that we can block it, so that we can choreograph the movement to turn it into a production. When we got to that step, we realized we had only told half of the truth, because now Kerry and I were in the same room with one another. COVID is over, right? Social distancing was coming to an end. And so now Kerry and I were in the same room, and the stakes were a little bit higher because we had a third person in the room who was our director, who further challenged us to say the truth, the unadulterated truth, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. You must say the truth. And one of the things that we made sure we did before we did that is that we coated that room in absolute love. We made sure that we normalized saying, I love you. I love you. My intention is not to hurt you. That is my intention. So if I hurt you, please remember that I love you, right? And then we will back up from there. So our director kept pressing us to tell the truth. He's saying, Marci, I hear what you're saying. I see what you wrote. I see the line that you wrote, but it is absolutely not, it's not 100% true. I need you to go home and I need you to rewrite that. And I need you to get closer to the truth behind this line. What is the question, or what is the response that you really want to say to Kerry's character, to Lauren, right? What is that true response? Unadulterated. What is it? And I'm going to tell you, that was the hardest part for me because I did not want to say. I didn't. I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to hurt her feelings, right? I didn't feel like our relationship, this working relationship, our intimate relationship that we had started to develop, I did not think it would hold up. I didn't think it would survive the ugliness of what I felt, and I didn't want to hear the ugliness coming from her, right? But love was in the room, and love helped us through that process. And it was healing for me in ways that I never anticipated. Never anticipated. And so, Kerry, can you articulate what was one of your biggest takeaways from this process?
Sure. I was sitting here reading. One of the things we talked about is there was an author that we were sharing an article back and forth, and she had a line in her article saying, you know, when our experience doesn't allow us to understand someone else's experience, it doesn't give us a license to say that their experience isn't real. It gives us an invitation to experience it for ourselves. And for me, that was kind of the blessing of this whole process for me, is I was able to get a peek into a world that I hadn't been able to before. That because Marci was so honest with her experience and her beliefs and her worldview and everything. So that to me was a huge gift. And I know I've mentioned it before, Marci, but I'm forever grateful for that. Um, and then one of the takeaways for me, and people, you know, it wasn't the one I was expecting necessarily, but for me, something that is not generally talked about is an appreciation for culture. And so having the opportunity to see how intertwined culture and identity are, and that they can't be separated. And if you try to separate them, then you're not seeing a person for who they are. And so for me, that was a big lesson. And it is interesting when Marci talks about our process and getting it up on our feet. There's something magical about our bodies won't allow us to do something that's not really true. So we're saying these words and we think we've done this work and we've really wrestled with these things. And then as we're getting up to walk it out and to physically do these things, it was just not working. It wasn't working. And that's where our director, Dr. James Webb, said, okay, I know what you're saying, but that's not all you're saying. And those times as we were rewriting where he would say that to Marci and say, you need to go back and really wrestle with what is it you're trying to say. And you know, and then on my side, the other side was, okay, well, this is how the character responds. And my leaning or the thing I had to wrestle with to challenge myself is not go, yeah, that works. You know, and so James got really good at going, what would you say? What do you say? Don't just say, yes, that works. You know, what would you say to that? And so it was that constant tweaking and pulling out of truth that ended up ultimately having this very authentic, genuine conversation.
So we have given you the genesis of this beautiful piece of work. I wish that all of you were able to see it before we've had this conversation, but that just simply was not possible. So now we've kind of whet your appetite. Now you can go to our website, which is Dissonance the Play. We will put it in the chat for you, and it's in Kerry's name title as well. Dissonanceplay.com. Dissonanceplay.com. And you'll be able to look at some videos of our origin story. You'll be able to look at some reviews of what people are saying. And you'll also be able to keep up with where we're going. We're headed in about 2 weeks to the Atlanta Black Theater Festival in Atlanta. So that's our next stop. It will be August 31st at 4:00 in the Southwest Arts Center. And it's going to be fantastic with those folks down there. We just got back from North Carolina, where we did a performance, a run of performances at the International Black Theater Festival. And it was spectacular. It was spectacular. and Kerry got to experience a Black theater conference for the first time. And I was so taken with her response, that I had to record it, and we got that on our social media up for you now, because seeing our culture on display, Black theater culture on display, was different for Kerry to experience, and I was so interested to get her opinion about what she was experiencing, and it just warmed my heart the way that she described this sacred thing. And one thing that we do is, if we have something that we love, we protect it. That's culturally what we do, and that Black theater is something that our community really does protect. And just like this space, you're doing the same thing with this space. You're making sure that Black women have a space to come and feel protected. And then you're inviting other groups to also come and get a taste of this sacred space to edify their own personal lives and pass that on. And that's what our play does. Our play offers hope. It puts unity in front. It shows the value of relationship, and how important it is to love one another. And it also makes sure that the audience understands that we don't condone race talks with just anybody. Okay. And this is our personal opinion. Okay. This is not the law. Nothing that we're saying is the law. It's our opinion. So our play says, we think that these conversations about race should take place with people you're in relationship with, right? So you can be sure that all of the things necessary for a healthy conversation about race with a person of your opposite race or different race is in the room before you start to have that conversation, right? You need love, you need openness, you need the ability to listen, you need the ability to be honest and to be vulnerable. You need a lot of things. So you have to take the temperature in that relationship to make sure that those things are present before you grace the conversation with someone that's different than you. And make sure that the end goal is unity. The end goal is not to win. The end goal is not to be right. The end goal is not to have somebody told. At least that is our opinion. The end goal is for unity. I need to share this with you so that you can love me better, right? And vice versa. So now we can open up the floor for questions. I mean, we don't have the answers to how to do this thing. We're still learning, and Kerry and I's journey is still ongoing. We are touring this play all around the world, and we're not going to stop until we get to the biggest stage in the world, right? But what the important thing I want to tell you is that we have not figured it out. We have one way that we have approached it, and it's working so far for us. And that is the way that we're continuing to work this journey as a Black woman and a white woman, be in relationship with one another and model that to the world.
Wow, you guys gave a lot of nuggets there. And I love the way that started out on a Google Doc, that you had a third party that was keeping you honest.
Yes.
These and one of the things that we do, one of my motto, I have these things called Higgieisms, and I just believe that we do avoid certain conversations. And my philosophy is that 9 times out of 10, if it's a conversation that we're avoiding, it's probably a conversation, it's a necessary conversation. That's how I look at it. And while it's a beautiful thing in most circles that if you can come together in a place of love and have these kinds of conversations, but life doesn't always deal us that hand. And sometimes we find ourselves in these situations where you have to confront for your own sanity, for your own peace of mind. As a Black woman, I will say that if you don't stand up for yourself, you will allow yourself to be invalidated.
Yeah.
You will allow yourself to be defined by other people's expectations or impressions of you. And it's hard to do. But the older you get, and I'm there, it gets easier.
You know
It
what?
gets easier
I'm feeling that.
for me
I'm
to say
feeling
those
that.
things.
I am feeling that. With every year I am afforded, mm,
Yes.
I get more and more uh, honest and less. I'm always kind. Well, not always. I'm mostly
You're
kind.
mostly kind.
Mostly
You
kind.
are.
I'm mostly kind, but I have every year I live, I am putting aside the need to be nice about things, right? Some things I just have to say. I'm just going to have to be direct and say them, and they may not have a nice, cute bow wrapped around it, but it will
Right.
never be to injure or to hurt or to be mean, right? But I feel less pressure the older I get to make it cute in a nice little bow, palatable for someone else to digest.
Well, I feel like it's kind of me watching you over the last 2 years because so much of this journey has been a personal journey for you as well, I think. Um, you are always nice, first of all. Um, but you have boundaries,
Mhm.
and that's so key. And, I respect it. I respect that you can speak the truth in love.
Mhm.
Um, I'm good at speaking the truth. Sometimes,
Working
it's
on it.
good reminder to do it in love.
Yeah.
I think we get so caught up, particularly as Black women. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. My mind is all in the workplace because my workplace is full of drama right now. So,
Mine too.
but I think that we get stuck on like whose comfort are we
Mhm.
protecting?
That's right. That's right.
So, it comes to a point in our lives where you need to protect your own comfort. And while it's unspoken, the expectation is that we're as Black women, as Black people, that we are going to be more concerned with protecting other people's comfort, not saying things. And we're the ones who are usually the traumatized person, but yet and still we're more concerned about what's going on with somebody else. And that's where we have to so you all in the play, I know your characters have been friends for 20 years. Have you two been friends for 20 years as well?
We have not. We have not. We are
But
going
we get asked
we
that every show.
every show. People are like, have y'all really been friends for 20 years? No, we have not been friends for 20 years, but I will say we've been friends for about what, 6, 7 years, Carrie?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
um our friendship went from 0 to 60. Okay. After this process, our friendship went from that's my associate to that's my sister girl. Carrie has been to my house. She has met my family. She has seen me around my family. And, so she's been able to see me without the need to code switch, without the need to edit myself and all of those things. And for her too. I've walked through some difficult things with her through her life that she's had to go through and have had the privilege to hold her up in prayer and be a listening ear for her as well. So we haven't been friends for 20 years, but our friendship has definitely gone from 0 to 60.
Understandable. For those of you who are in the audience, this is an interactive conversation. Raise your hand, and I'll call on you if you have something. Are you ladies able to see the chats? Because I'm not seeing them right now. If there's anything in the chats. Barbara Ransom,
Um,
you have, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I asked the question of whether or not you guys were had published this or are in the process or want to or have given it any thought, published it into a book of some kind, because I think this would be something that is really important for high school children, high school students to think about and to begin to start their process, their journey for that inter well I started to say interracial conversation,
Yeah.
but I think it's more than that. As you talk, I think it's more than that. And I would be interested in knowing what your socioeconomic status is like between the two of you and whether any of that came out in any of your conversations.
All right. I hope, Kerry, you're gonna have to help me remember all those questions. But I think
Okay.
the first one is, you have confirmed, so many people have asked us, first of all, is the play published? As of right now, the play is not published. And it's very strategically. First of all, Kerry and I do not want to let this thing go. We don't want to let it go until we have presented it to the world in the way that we want to present it. We want to be the ones that introduce this play to the highest stage, which is Broadway, I think, and out of the country. And then we will let it go and let people produce it, and it will be worldwide. The second thing is that Kerry and I have talked about writing a companion workbook or a small book to go along with this play. So you have only confirmed that. So thank you. We're going to get started and we're going to get that done for everybody. The next thing I think was socioeconomic status. Yes, that was brought up in the play. One of the parts of the play that Angela, my character Angela, says is that that she helped Kerry get this job after her divorce. They were working at the same university, and my character knew for a fact that Lauren, Kerry's character, started out making at least $30,000 more than Angela's character. And I asked her character, "Why do you think that is?" And Kerry's response, Lauren's response, Kerry's character was, "Well, I negotiated for that job. That's why I got that salary." And so Angela's character, who's the character that I play, had to break that down for her. "I have more experience than you. I recommended you for this job. I've been here longer. There is no way that you should be making $30,000 more than me."
Mm-hmm.
And that is the first time in the play that Kerry's character, Lauren, thought about that dynamic. And Angela says to her, "This is what I want you to be upset about.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you can have my back. This is not right. So just speak up for simply what is not right." So yes, that issue comes up in the play. Kerry, you want to speak to that a little bit too?
Yeah, that issue, every time you say that, and I have more experience than you, why is that? And I say I negotiated for that salary. So did I. And then I have to go back to the dean. I had to go back to the dean and ask for it. I always, when I find out, when your character tells my character that's a situation, in my head, I'm always going, wait, what? Because it's the ignorance of, I had no clue any of this was going on. And some of that we address in the play about what you share and what you don't share and what you allow to be seen and what you edit or censor. But just the fact that there's a complete unawareness of things like that. So I think it was important that was included, and it
And
I'll let you speak to where that comes from, but
that's right. It came from a real situation, at my own job, right?
At all of our jobs.
From all of our jobs, right? But
When
it's so
I saw that
funny
part in the
because-
play, I was like, "Oh my God, is this
and you are
like?"
not the only one. Every single time at that point in the play, we got an amen corner for sure.
And I don't want you guys to give it all away, but it's post intermission. It's like, oh, this can really get real.
well, we normally don't have an intermission. We did it for that venue specifically, so the play goes from 0 to 60.
We don't stop.
You don't have a chance to catch your breath normally.
Nope. We only did it for that venue because the venue requested it so that they could, do the things that they do normally. But we normally go straight through. There's no stopping, and we roll.
I asked that question, first of all, because when you guys said that you worked in academia, I know academia is notorious for the inequities in the pay gap. But usually when productions like this, people write about it, talk about it, the one thing that generally doesn't get on the table is this difference.
Yeah.
It's not discussed, it's in the closet. So I'm glad that your production did it. It makes me feel good that it did it, because I was a person who was working on a job, decided I was going to quit, and they begged me to stay, and I thought, they were going to give me a $5,000 raise. The woman that they hired behind me, I'm an attorney. The woman that they hired behind me, they took my caseload that I was carrying, split it up between 3 attorneys, and paid the woman, the white woman who got the job, paid her $15,000 more than I was making.
I
And
mean,
so,
it's the same line. I mean, you said my line from the play. I mean, that's the exact sentiment.
Yeah.
That's the exact sentiment. I see, Tompkin. I see you have
Yeah, we have a few. But let me just say on that note too, that I think what happens is the argument that you use, well, they didn't negotiate. Like really?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the fact that, the black person can do all this. But when we talk about and I asked in the chats about are white women our allies, this is how you can be our allies, right? So if you, in fact, because everybody knows it's an unspoken, what they say is an a spoken secret or whatever they say, an open secret, that everybody knows that there's a disparity in pay. And I love President Obama. I'm glad he did the Lilly Ledbetter Act, but I wanted him to look at the disparity in pay based on race. Like, can we deal with the elephant in the room? Thank you, Miss Barbara. I'm going to go on to Anastasia. Hey, Miss Lady, how are you?
Hi, Helen. I'm great. I'm great. I'm excited for this talk today. Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you, ladies, for writing the play. I can't wait to check it out because I do have more white women friends in my life now. I am originally from Trinidad. I migrated to the US roughly 8 years ago. So the case is that in Trinidad, there's not much white people. And so it's something I've had to kind of learn to navigate. And it's been really awful. But thank God I'm in a better space, and I feel like the older you get wisdom, you get experience, and I have more emotional capacity to have like my white female friends. But what has been coming up is so I go to church, and that's the context that I have most of my white female friends. But the church is not necessarily woke. Like their understanding of race is just very basic. It's like, don't be mean to another person regardless of race, be colorblind, that kind of thing. They don't see the systemic side. So that's been frustrating for me. And so naturally, the women that go there seem to also not have a great racial analysis. And it's becoming an issue because I work in like what I consider the field of racial justice. So I do journalism on like racial justice issues. So I feel like it's something that's constantly in the forefront of my mind. I feel like it's something that's a huge part of who I am. For many other Black people in the church, because there are many, they don't seem to like care as much. So what I perceive is that their cross-racial relationships are like easier because they just almost like they accept the idea that the white person isn't going to fully understand their experience, but they're just going to like take the friendship for what it can be. And I'm finding that like that's sort of not enough for me. Like it makes me feel kind of like, is this a halfway friendship? Because when I want a friendship, I want to love hard. I want to like really be your bestie, And I'm trying to, with this one particular white female friend that I have, I really love her. I was thinking about inviting her to the call, but I was like, we haven't quite broached that yet. I don't know how she would feel. But I have slowly started talking to her about race and stuff, and she did indicate that like she knows who I am, what my position is, and she supports that. She supports me. She just like doesn't know how to talk about these issues a lot, and she doesn't know if it's like her place. So I sense that she has like a supportive element to her around what I believe and what I'm passionate about. But I also feel like I don't know how, like in what you said about the play and what you said in you guys' own friendship, like I want to sort of have a little more in-depth conversation with her about like the white female experience versus the Black female experience, and like our friendship based on that. But I don't know if she has the like capacity for it, if she's ready for it. And then the last thing is too, I don't want it to seem like the friendship is like all about me and my needs and my Blackness, and like, are you seeing that? Are you holding that? Like, I definitely want it to be 50, and I want to care about her issues too. But I do feel like she's not really seeing the full me, and I'm holding back because I feel like I want to protect the friendship. So what advice do you guys have for me?
This is so interesting because we also cover this exact
This
conversation
is the arc of the play.
in the play. And the statement to Angela is, understand this, Lauren, you don't see me. You see a fraction of me that has been filtered to what I think you can stomach.
And then
Lauren says,
that hurts. You're telling me that our friendship of 20 years is you showing me a piece of yourself that you think I can handle.
And I say, because I can't share that fully with you.
Why?
Because you can't handle it.
I don't need you to protect me. I need you to be my friend, and I need you to be honest with me.
That's the key. If this person is your friend, you owe it to her to show up as your true self. Because what I did for so long was I showed up as a fraction of myself because I was afraid that these white women that I was in relationship with, first of all, wouldn't accept my full Black cultural self, or that it would be too much for them. It would be too much for them. So then, in essence, Lauren's character calls my character a fraud. She says to me, you've been hiding from me from 20 years. And it's not that I didn't want to see you. It's that you didn't want to show it to me. She says, I don't need you to protect me. I need you to be my friend. Be honest with me. And if this woman is valuable to you, then she's worth that. And let her prove that she isn't, if she isn't. But the gift is when I give Kerry my 100% full self.
Yeah.
Unapologetically. And I'm gonna tell you, this play process was the part that helped me come to my full, organic, authentic self. And so I was a big 40. I was a big 40 years old. Right? And that's sad for me. I really felt sad about that, but that was my truth. That is my truth. So in essence, what I'm saying is that we are always considering how people are going to accept us, how people are going to experience us, when we should just be allowed to be. We should just be allowed to be. And if you have a person of a different race who you have those indicators, and when we enter these cross-relational race relations, we're looking for those signals to say, am I safe? Am I safe? We're looking for those. And once we get those, yeah, this person may be a safe person, then you owe it to yourself and to them to show them your true, authentic self. And then that's how you open up the conversation, because it's like, hey, culturally, we don't do that. Right? And here's why. Or that's different. I never thought about that. Right? That's how you broach those conversations. And it's like, hey, I feel like you can really be a good friend to me, and I want to show you who I really am.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kerry. Go ahead, Kerry.
Can you speak, Marci, to some of the hurt that I really can't speak to? Because there's a point in our play where I say, I want to have this conversation. And your character says, I've done this before, and it does not go well.
Right. I say to her,
and Anastasia, is it Anastasia or Anastasia?
Anastasia.
Anastasia. It sounds to me like you're seeing, we talk about this amongst the three of us, Marci and I and our director, about how, we are no more segregated than on Sunday mornings. And that's heartbreaking to me. But so what you're touching on, like Marci said, we talk about in the play, and it's that hurt that I've tried this. I've tried to go here.
Yeah. And that monologue, and it's true. I've been through this before and it didn't end well. I tried to have an honest conversation with a white woman. She started crying. She started playing the victim. And then I had to take care of her. And now I'm comforting her because she's so shaken by the conversation. Right. And then Kerry's character says, I'm not fragile. I'm standing here right here, and I can take anything you can throw at me. What I'm telling you is I'm 10 toes down and I want to have this conversation with you. You're worthy to me. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. And that's what my character needed. And that's what I needed as a human, right? That's what I needed. I needed somebody not to be fragile, because when somebody starts to cry for me, it's triggering to me, because now I feel like I can't be honest. I got to go into protective mode, and I can't really share my full self. So that's when you get that version of me that is filtered to what I think you can stomach. Right.
And that's when I start handing out tissues, because I see it as a defense mechanism, right? I think that and the sad thing is that sometimes white women's tears are real, right? But we've gotten to a point where there is a larger recognition that the white woman tears are weapons.
Right.
And conversely to that, Black women's tears are never taken seriously. We're not allowed to be vulnerable, soft, whatever. So it's just a catch-22. And thank you so much, Anastasia, for your thoughtfulness. And I love you, girl.
That's
So yeah,
Great
these are
question.
great
Thank you.
questions. And we know that there were plenty of relationships that did not survive these conversations post Black Lives Matter, post George Floyd, even with the stuff that's happening in Israel now, relationships are not surviving.
We get some audience members that come up to us and they say, this hit home and my friendship didn't survive.
Absolutely.
Or hit home and she's here with me. Or this is me and my best friend and we want to have the conversation, right? So we get it. Sometimes it didn't go well. Sometimes the friendship did not happen, did not continue.
And then, maybe it wasn't a real friendship.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Right? And you have to accept that as well. Pastor, Patricia Pastor, I'm going to call you Pastor Patty.
Hi, thank you.
Yes.
So I'm not a pastor. That's my husband's last name. Actually, it was Pastori when they came over the boat, but they took the E off because back in those days, Italian people were like looked down upon by the culture in America. So they wanted to be like anonymous. So they took off the E. But anyways, I was telling, put the E back on, But I'm just listening, and I'm very honored, first of all, that you have allowed me as a white woman to be joining and listening to this group. I know it's not all the time, but I really appreciate that. And I so love and admire my Black friends or the Black women, I should say, in my life, because they're not all friends. Some are clients, different kinds of relationships. But I'm just getting goosebumps listening to this. When Marci, when you described the this work that you both did and the impact on your friendship, I'm so moved by this. And I think that this is something that it's just like, I'm just feeling chills talking about it, because like there's so much horrible hate and contentiousness and polarity and all of the things in the world right now that, I'm over 60 years old now. And I'm like, I've never experienced a time like this. You know, as a white woman, I've never experienced how I'm experiencing the world right now before. Like I've lived through many things, right? If I'm 60 years old, I've lived through many crazy times. But this is just, it's such a hard time to be like in the world, and I don't know, challenging. And I just feel like, you know, race, I grew up certainly in a very racist culture, very, very racist culture. I grew up in a town called Whitestone in Queens. Interesting name, right? Whitestone. And mostly Irish and Italian white people, and just incredibly, I think, incredibly racist. You know, not always in your face, but definitely there. And it's when people say they're colorblind or race blind, they're full of shit. Like, I just don't believe that at all. Maybe they think they mean it, but I just don't believe that, because as much as I love people, and I don't have a lack of love for someone based on race personally, I know that it's in me. I know that it's in there because I always think about race. And it's not that I'm thinking about it in a way of like less than or better than, but I always, when I'm interacting with a Black person, for example, I'm always thinking, if not consciously, subconsciously, I'm always thinking about race. Like, how will they feel about how it's like the head is constantly going. And so like, I don't know. I don't want to go on and on. I just want to express appreciation, and that this is so beautiful. And anytime I see a group like this that I can have the opportunity to join and speak real like this with Black women, I am there, because I love the Black women in my life. And I think you all are just the most amazing beings on this planet. And I am all in for it. So,
you know, one of the things.
Yes, I love your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. One of the things that Kerry and I say over and over is that I truly believe, and this play has showed us this, our audiences, let me say that, our audiences have shown us this time and time and time and time and time again, that I believe that there are more people who want unity than there are people who don't. But the people who do not want unity are the loudest. They are the loudest, and they are the ones that are out front. But I am a witness. We have not had any negativity in our audience when we do this play. So I am convinced that there are more people on this planet that want unity than people who don't. We just don't know how. We don't know how.
And we've performed it, you know, we've gotten a good enough sample now, because we performed it in Mississippi, across the panhandle of Florida, down into South Florida. We performed it in Washington, D.C. for 2 weeks, and in the Bronx. So we've had a very, very different demographic in many of our audiences. And it's so true. We've had people come to us. There was a gentleman that's in his late 50s that came to our first produced show after we launched it, that had grown up in a rural area in the panhandle of Florida. And he said, I've got some things to think about. And, you know, that's you know, for a almost 60-year-old white man who grew up in a rural area to say, wow, I've got some thinking to do. That's exactly what this play can do, and what being honest and candid and couched in love can do. And so Marci's right. We believe, and we have seen, that most people want unity. Most people want to be seen, to see one another, and to come together.
True. Absolutely true. I just wanted to share with Patricia, which I didn't say in the beginning of this. There was a time when I would do quarterly calls with white women, because I believe in the value of conversation. Now, there are a lot of Black women say, I am tired of talking to white women. They don't get it. But I believe that there is value in us coming together and at least hearing another perspective. Maybe it has an impact on you, maybe it doesn't. And I have such wonderful footage that I don't know what to do with. Maybe these two ladies can help me with it from our conversations. Our first conversation was a conversation between a gathering between Black women and white women, a conversation long overdue. And some of the women who are on this call were on that call. And we had over 200 women, or almost 200 women on that call, because there is a longing, as Marci says, for these kinds of conversations. And I just hadn't done one in a year. And the reason this resonated with me at this time is because the times that we're in, because we're in a political mess. And Black women, we know what Black women are going to do because we do it all the time. We're going to show up and do the right thing. But where are our white sisters? And are you all going to show up for this next election? So we'll be meeting monthly between now and maybe even more often if it's dictated. But we will definitely be talking more between now and November and beyond, because the work doesn't stop once the election happens. So just stay tuned. We'll be back in touch with you again. And thank you. Where are you where are
What?
you joining from, Patricia?
Oh,
You're muted.
it's okay. Smell that.
I don't know what state she's from. I was trying to find out. You're muted,
Oh.
Patricia.
Helen, if she doesn't pick up, I have a couple comments.
Okay, go ahead. I see a bunch of stuff in the chats too that we need to get to.
Okay.
I'm
Couple-
sorry, here I am. I'm from New York.
Okay. Oh, you said that. You said Whitestone. Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Come again,
right.
please.
Thanks,
Let's
I
run
will.
through a few of the things in the chat, then we'll get to the last few questions and we'll let you ladies go. Anything in the chats that I've seen a few. Let me get back
Helen,
to the
could I
chat.
speak about what I put in the chat?
Go ahead. Let me see.
Okay.
I'm trying to pull up the chat.
One of the things that catches me is that we're still being very surface here in this conversation. And I know it's like the appetizer before the entree. But for us to really make a difference in our communities, we really have to dig deep and be real.
Yeah.
And one of the equalizers that I see is one of the things that's being slowly clawed back from us. TikTok is the equalizer.
Yes.
And I'm an IT person. I work in data and privacy. And the excuses that they're giving about why TikTok's not good for the American population is because it's a normalizer. TikTok is letting you see what your neighbor looks like and your neighbor see what you looks like, what your value system is, how you live, and how people are aspiring or achieving. And the problem is this construct of race that's a little over 100 years old and probably longer with colonialism has been inbred into the American society. It is not our nature. It is not our human nature to be discriminating or being racist or unkind to people in our communities. It's what we have been taught and miseducated to do in this country called America.
Yeah.
So opening a border, letting people in from the South who have a different hue versus people from the North that looks more like what America's population wants to be as the demography changes is the problem. So until we can get real and talk about it, this is a nice entree into that conversation, but we need to be for real people.
So I'm going to tell you, when we had our, today the focus obviously is the play, but when I tell you that our previous conversations with white women have been real, they've been real. So I respect that, but it's never enough. We can never have too many of these conversations. And as a Black woman, I think we need to know, and for those of you who were on the call a few weeks ago with Robin DiAngelo, she talked about the risk that we put ourselves in as Black women, being honest, in white circles. And again, I'm 64, so I'm here to deal with it. What are you going to do to me? I'm 64. It is what it is. But everybody's not there. And we have to be able to have those conversations that are real. So I hear you. And we're being respectful because we have guests here.
Right.
But we
Helen,
we're
I want to say this as well, like you mentioned, Helen. This conversation is structured around the play that we developed, and inside of the play, the conversations happen for real. We have real conversations, and we go back and forth in the play for real. We're trying to be careful not to give away too much because we do want you all to see the
I
play.
know that's the hard part, right?
Yeah. But these conversations are nowhere near surface inside of the
Exactly.
play.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say something, Helen? It's Marcia up here. I don't know where we are. I know I raised my hand, but I just thought I'd jump in because I'm not sure if you're seeing the hand raises or not.
I am. Go ahead, Marcia.
So I appreciate my friend Betty for inviting me to this group. We've been friends for, I think, 20 years, maybe 18 years. I don't know. And I just wanted to share, I appreciate you guys putting this together because I was like really excited that you guys put this play together. It's a conversation my friend and I have all the time about our relationship as Black women and white women. And one of the things that touches my heart so deeply is when my friend is vulnerable with me on whatever. I just have to share one thing because this relationship with white and Black women is, I think of it as a sacred relationship because we're sharing things with each other, but mostly this prejudice, this racism that has been going on for years. And there was one particular thing that touched my heart so deeply was when she asked me, because her mother was a maid in the South, right? And I grew up in Ohio and we had a maid growing up. I'm 69 years old. And she asked me how we treated the maid in our family. And I said, she was part of my family. And this was an experience to her because her experience with her mother was of being treated badly. And my experience with my maid that we had growing up was she was very close to my heart. And this was the most vulnerable conversation I remember of the question, like what the Black history have been of racism and how Black women in my age category were raised and everything else, of being projected that I could possibly be that same Black woman that was that hired her mother as a housekeeper. So these deep conversations that we have about our own vulnerability regarding race and Black women being vulnerable of how we're perceived as white women along the spectrum of racism is really where our relationship has been culturally, where we have been able to really have deep conversations and expose a lot of the deep hurt in our differences. So I just wanted to share that story, and I appreciate you guys doing this play. Appreciate everybody's vulnerability on this conversation, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for that comment. I'm going to jump right in real quick before we go to Carla's question, because I know Kerry Ann and Marci have other things to do, and I appreciate everybody's time here today. But I want to say that when I saw the movie The Help, I saw it in Manhattan, and there was a white woman sobbing profusely in the back of the theater. So I pretended to be my sociological experience. I was my first major. So when she left the theater, I pretended that I was leaving, hanging around. But I was waiting for her to come out, and I wanted to know what was she. So I said, "What was so upsetting to you about that movie?" And if you don't mind me asking, and she shared with me that it took her back to the fact that this Black woman had essentially raised her, who was her nanny, and she had not seen that woman in years and not thought about her. And that movie brought back all these emotions. And then I saw it again in upstate New York, and it was the same thing, white women in the back of the theater sobbing. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. And then ABC did a whole segment on it. I think it was with what's her name? Deborah. She's cute little black woman married to Al Roker. What's her last name? I can't think of her last name.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of her name.
Roberts.
Roberts.
Deborah Roberts. Deborah
Mhm.
Roberts, I believe, was the person who did a whole program on white women who were having these guilt feelings about that came to them as a part as a response to seeing the help. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. So thank you so much. And Marsha, where are you at, Marsha? What part? Where are you?
I live in Los Angeles. And
Oh,
my connection with my friend is we laugh all the time. We just get on the phone and we laugh. And we're just, I love her dearly. So I'm glad.
thank you so much for coming. And I hope that you will come.
Helen, may I jump in here?
Yeah, real quick. Go ahead, Miss Lola.
I just want
I know.
to, I don't know if Patricia is still on. I hope she's still on. I just want to tell her how much I appreciate her honesty. When she said she really sees race, that she sees it all the time. Because I said, about a week ago, a friend of mine who I've just met, I don't know her that well, but I always show up as me. I don't care. I don't think about what I can handle or can't handle. So we were talking, and I said to her, I said, I'm waiting for the day in America where where I don't think about my race. Because every day, I said, I think about my race. Said, even if I don't leave my house, I watch the news, I'm going to see something, somebody's got killed or was stopped by police. It's always about race in this country.
Everything.
So I thought maybe I was crazy. And this friend of mine, because I know now she's a real friend, even though I've only known her for about 6 months. She said to me, she said, she had never heard that before. And she's dated a lot of Black men. So apparently we, because we're so protective, I mean, when I'm listening now, we try to protect them so much that we don't even tell them stuff that they need to know. Because even the people who are going to be allies, if they don't know, then they don't know what they need to do to be allies. I mean, the people who show up on this program today, I believe mostly are people who want to know. White people who are really interested in what happens between us are the ones that show up. The ones that are not interested are going to be difficult to reach. And those are the friendships that may not withstand the honesty. And then I want to know, because I don't want to waste my time being friends with someone who can't deal with me. So I let it all hang out.
Right. And we have to ask ourselves what kinds of friendships we have. So we have these relationships with white women or women of other races, let me say that. But do they come to your home? Do they know the names of your kids? I think we confuse these work relationships with friendships, and they're not really friendships. They're acquaintanceships at best. And when we leave that job, 9 times out of 10, most people you're never going to talk to again. They don't come to your house. They don't, when your mom dies, they're not sending flowers or just whatever the case may be. And also another big thing I find for myself is a challenge that somehow, because I'm a proud Black woman, I'm pro-Black, so that means I'm anti something else. Why can't I just be proud to be who I am? Everybody else can be proud. You can be proud to be Irish. You can be proud to be whatever. But if I say I'm Black and I'm proud, oh my God, she's a militant. Right. So those kinds of things. But anyway, thank you, Lola. I want us to get through this because I love these two ladies and I don't want to wear out their I don't want to indulge on them too much. Carla, go ahead. What's your question? Hi,
Hey,
Carla.
Helen, I don't have a question. I just have a statement. I just want to thank you publicly for what you do and the work. Don't grow weary in well doing. This is a phenomenal meeting. As I scrolled through and saw all the white faces, it just did my heart good. I'm here in North Carolina, part of a nonprofit organization, and we have a diversity, equity, inclusion committee, and it is so hard to get white women to show up. So I'm encouraged. Kerry and Marci, this is a blessing for the work that you're doing. I'm going to be in touch to see how we can get you here to bring your play to High Point so you can get in front of these people, because this is real conversation that needs to take place. As Marsha was talking, it took me back to when I was growing up in Randallstown, Maryland, suburbs of Baltimore, and we had a maid growing up. But I never would have told anybody that we had a maid because I felt like I had to to fit in to what they were expecting me to be as a Black person.
Mm.
And so I'm older now, I'm free, I'm much bolder that I can be who I am, who God created me to be, and I'm very proud of it. I'm just excited about the work that's being done, and I'll be in touch with both of you ladies. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Carla. Carla and I went to Howard together. Hey, Carla.
Helen, I would just like to add, please bring the play to Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it, Charlotte. I'm trying to get it to, we've been talking about, and I'm trying to do it in Trenton because it's the middle of the state. And it's just kind of easier for people to, but I'm open because we need to. So as a matter of fact, Marci, Kerry, and I need to talk about that soon because I would like to do it before the end of the year.
And I
Let
just
me
want to say,
see.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead,
I
Charlotte.
just wanted to say to the younger people on the call, especially the Black women on the call, stop cosplaying, as they say. Stop cosplaying. Whoever you are, walk into the room, and when you make those relationships, be your authentic self. Stop this quote unquote code switching.
Yes.
I
Totally agree.
don't code switch. You know, we all have our public selves and our private selves. We have our real close sister girls, be they white or Black, and we have people, whatever. But try not to be someone that you're afraid for people that they'll be surprised that you're holding back, or I don't even understand that concept from where I was raised, you know? So it makes it easier for me to check people when they're saying something that's absurd. You know, that's my 2 cents.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know what I just did to the screen. Are you all, I was trying to, are you all seeing Carrie? I don't know who's on Spotlight now.
We all are in the boxes. Well, there are no spotlights.
We're all in the boxes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Charlotte, thank you for those comments. I too don't believe in code switching. Particularly in the workplace, they hire you because you're a Black person, and then they want you to get there and be something that you're not. And I'm all about being who you are, right? So, Miss Tedeschi, am I saying that name correctly? Miss
Marilyn
Tedeschi?
Tedeschi, yes, Tedeschi from Rochester, New York.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a gay woman, and I've been gay all my life. And I've always wondered all my life if they really, if white women or Black women or anybody knew who I really was, would they like me? And I'm 77 years old. So I've been through I'm married to a wonderful woman for 40 years. But there are still people that I wonder if they really knew who I was and what my life has been, would they still like me? It's just another perspective. Doesn't matter if you're Black or white, because I've had Black people who don't go for that and white people who don't go for that. So it's just another perspective that another minority that needs to be able to say who they are. And
as long as you're not trying to
okay, and, it's okay too. Thank you.
Somebody needs a mute, please. Yeah, you're right. We all have a right to be seen, and there's no expectation. You know, it's not fair that you feel that you can't show your authentic self for who you are, no matter what the circle is. But I'm gonna defer to the two guests if you want to address that.
I agree. You know, you should be able to live and exist in your authentic self, and that's the journey that Angela is on, you know, to show her authentic self, her full self to her friend. And that's a gift. I believe it's a gift that you give the people that you love and to the world. It's a gift you get to give them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you. Marilyn, where are you calling from?
Rochester, New York.
Oh, Rochester, I think you said that. Well, thank you, and please do come again.
I will, absolutely.
You're on
Thank
my
you.
you're on my
Good-
list now.
Nice work. Nice work.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I may add something, you know, and not to take anything away from a gay person or anybody else, the problem we have as Black people is you can't hide your color. So you grow up, you don't have any options. So that's just the difference there, where, you know, maybe you shouldn't have to hide anyway, but at least there are some instances where you can hide who you are, but we can't hide that. So we show up, and if somebody's going to discriminate against me, they're going to discriminate me against me. So I just let everything hang out and be me, and they can deal with it or not deal with it.
All right. That's right.
I love it. Thank you.
All right.
The-
And this
the
will be
problem-
ours.
Yeah. The problem with being gay years ago, I taught in school, and you could lose your job if they found out gay. You can not get an apartment or a housing if the landlord doesn't like you. There were, you know, laws against it. And, you know, I said I'm married for 40 years, but actually we weren't married until 2 years ago, when I understood the Supreme Court was going to take that right away. So we went and got married. So I don't know if my anniversary is 2 years or 42 years.
It's 40. It's 40. Government papers for 2.
Thank you.
How about that? How about that? Yeah, I was trying to find you to bring you back on screen. Thank you for sharing that comment. And it wasn't lost on me when you said 77 and you've been living this way for 40 years. That says a lot about who you are. You're a strong, confident person. So hats off to you for living your truth. Okay. And I swear I'm going to let you ladies go, but Miss Marietta, you had a question? Marietta? She's been waiting for a while, and now she probably stepped away. All right, let's very quickly peruse the chats. Maybe she'll come back, and then we'll wrap this up with some closing remarks. Let me see.
Excuse me, Helen. May I say something? I can't find the raise your hand button. This is Moonyin.
I'm sorry, who is it? Oh, Moonyin. Hi, Moonyin. How are you, dear?
Hi. Okay, fine. I just have a quick comment. One of my friends, Diana Stewart, is online. We've been friends for over 50 years, and her daughter is my godchild, and I have a wonderful Hispanic friend of since law school, over 50 years as well. And we've navigated a lot of things, but I want to say this. I don't think it's necessary to say everything you mean. And I also believe, obviously, in being extremely authentic. And people, Black and white, can't take it. So I don't worry about them taking it. I worry about my feeling good about being honest, ethical, and that's it. And wherever the chips fall, that's where they fall.
Yep.
And I want to also say that I don't believe in sharing all of my thoughts with anyone, Black, white, grizzly, gray, family or non-family, because it's not about the vulnerability. It's about growing and processing. And every year you feel different. At least I do. I feel differently about things. And the way that I felt about Black and white relationships during the assassination of Dr. King and Malcolm, and those years of protest, and the way that I have felt processing the system as an attorney who's always fighting for the justice as I see it. And then how I feel now. I'm 77 as well. And you change. But the only thing that doesn't change, if you're a true person, is your love for the people that you extend yourself to and who reciprocate. And you don't have to really do a lot of definition a lot of soul searching. And if somebody cries at your being honest, you can show them how to wipe their tears, but you don't have to feel guilty about how they haven't processed themselves. And one last thing, church, yes, is one of the most segregated areas during our time, but we don't all like to worship the same way. So we don't need to try to pull each other into every single corner. We just don't have to do that to be honest, to be fair, and to be friends. Okay. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so that's it. 50 years, more than 50 years, right, Di?
Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you.
Yes, appreciate it. Appreciate it. So on that note, there's a lot of stuff in the chats here. People, please share your contact information. You will be on my email list, so I'll get everything out to you. But Kerry and
Marietta's back.
Oh, Marietta.
Oh, is she back? Marietta?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. We were waiting for you. How are you? You wanted to ask a question, and then we're gonna wrap it
I
up.
wanted to say something, and
Okay.
hello to all of you dear ones.
Hello.
I know enough about Black culture to know that you have, without knowing me, you have no reason to trust this 79-year-old woman. And I have had wonderful experiences, particularly when I taught at a school for troubled teenagers for 23 years. And I like to focus on what makes us human. There I learned that everybody has a vulnerable spot. And that is what makes us lovable. Whenever you feel safe, feel free to share those treasured vulnerabilities.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's wonderful wisdom to end this call on. 79 years of wisdom. And we're going to have you back because I'm sure you can talk. Where did you grow up, Miss Quimby?
I grew up in the segregated South in Virginia. So I know something about what people have lived.
Yes.
Can I just say a quick comment, thanking Mooneen for inviting me today?
Yes.
And Diane Stewart. I just want to say about Mooneen, she and I went to Emerson College together, and I'm 78 years old. And I want to say that she's a wonderful godmother to my daughter, whose father is Chinese Trinidadian. And her, one of the things that Mooneen and I have shared was a desire to make things right. And she was the key person to help me to organize a campaign to get somebody who was being illegally held by Immigration Customs Enforcement. And she got us a meeting with Congressman Donald Payne in a blink of an eye. And unbelievable, that was so helpful. We got him out. He is an RN. He's a citizen. He's his beautiful children are part of my extended family. And I have to say, if we hadn't had that meeting, link through Mooneen, it might never have happened. She is a true friend in every respect. I'm up here in New York City. She's in Maryland, but she comes up, or I go to, hopefully we'll go down more recently. And I want to thank everybody for sharing your kindness and your perspective. And it's valuable for me to be here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. And thank you, Mooneen, for inviting her. But one of the other things I'm going to be working on soon, I'm just trying to figure out how I want to do it. I'm going to start a repository where we can share our recollections or incidents of racism. And I'm doing that because of the climate that we're in. And I just want a running log where people are going on writing, whatever your experience was, so that we can see whether we're 79 growing up in Virginia or, 29 living right now in New York, what's happening to us in terms of racism. So But anyway, on that note, ladies, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And I look forward to us doing our play, your play in New Jersey. And of course, I think there was some talk about, Barbara's not here today, but about bringing you back to Florida, to South Florida. And we got to make this happen. And like I said, anyone who's on this call, if you're so inspired, please reach out to the ladies and invite them to come and host the play in your community. Because it is it is, we can launch a real conversation from just having this play in your community. So on that, I'm going to let you all have your closing remarks, and then we'll sign off for the day.
Well, I have nothing more. I have learned so much from this beautiful group of individuals. I feel grateful and honored to be in the number. Just as excited as I was to be on that call with 40,000 Black women a couple weeks ago. It has done my heart good, and I appreciate you for inviting us. We really do.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy that we got to have the conversation about dissonance, but also that I get to hear more perspectives and learn and listen and grow. So I appreciate being here.
And I so appreciate both of you for just so graciously accepting my request that you show up and that we have this conversation. I'm gonna take all of our spotlights away just so we can see us all. If you all want to turn on your cameras just so we can get a real glimpse of who's here, that would be great.
Helen, how do we find out about sponsoring or hosting or bringing it to?
So if you want to go to dissonanceplay.com, it's in the chat. We'll drop it in the chat again so that you can see it, because there's a lot of comments there. Dissonanceplay.com, and you can message us directly from the website. You can donate to our cause directly from the website, and you can see what our schedule is and where we're going to next from the website. We are in talks with a lot of different places. So, stay tuned to our social media and our website, and you'll know where we are so that you guys can come and catch a glimpse of this play. I promise you won't be disappointed.
I promise you that too. I promise you that too. Somebody was going to say something. So if you all do contact them, please let them know that you saw them here on When Black Women Gather. And we'll keep this thing going. So I usually say, on that note, let's do what we do, have people unmute, but I don't know if there's a lot of regular folks on here, because we usually close out and I say, When Black Women Gather, and you all answer.
Amazing
things happen.
Amazing things happen. And this has been another amazing afternoon with you all. I appreciate your time. And I keep dropping in the chats if you want to make donations. I accept them graciously. And we'll be back again with another program real soon. And on that note, I'm going to stop recording. We can hang around for a few more minutes for those who want and talk. But for the most part, the program is over. Thank you so much, Marci and Kerry. And I look forward to seeing you in New Jersey real soon.
Thank